All right, it's 6 o'clock. We will continue with the October 21st Board of Selectmen meeting. I invite everybody to please stand for the pledge. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Welcome, everyone. First up, public comment. Any public comment? Not seeing any. I will close public comment. Move right on to new business. First up, we have our outside agency presentation. Haven. Deborah?
I'm Annie.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. I'm Annie Dowling. I'm the volunteer coordinator at Haven. So Haven provides violence prevention and support services around the issues of domestic and sexual violence, stalking, and human trafficking. And the mission of Haven is to prevent sexual assault and domestic violence and to empower women, men, youth, and families to heal from abuse and rebuild their lives. Unlike many other nonprofits, our doors never close. We are available 24 hours a day, every day, to anyone who needs us, anyone who's in crisis. We do this for our neighbors as well as yours, for coworkers and relatives, adults and children. This is our community and is our goal to end violence and change lives. So Haven provides a comprehensive prevention program with kids K through 12. As well as a comprehensive program of client services, direct supports to survivors of abuse, which includes emergency shelter, 24-hour confidential crisis and support hotline, 24-hour accompaniment to police stations and hospital emergency rooms, accompaniment to courts and help with restraining orders, safety planning, support and accompaniment for families at the Rockingham and Stratham Child Advocacy Center, support groups for survivors of domestic violence, sexual assault, and their parents. We also now offer a Housing First program, helping survivors of domestic violence link up with long-term sustainable housing, which is a really, really critical need, as we all know. All of our services are free and confidential and available to any Milton resident in need of assistance. Last year, overall, Haven provided assistance to 3,530 individuals and families through client services, and through our Strong Safe Kids, Strong Teens program, we reached 15,557 kids, teens, parents, and teachers with critical information about safety and awareness. During the last fiscal year, Haven provided assistance to 28 Milton residents with nearly 139 units of service through client services, and we reached approximately 49 students and adults at Milton Elementary School through our prevention education program. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
I don't have any questions, but I appreciate everything you folks are doing.
Thank you so much.
So,
I appreciate that.
yeah.
Thank you. Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Any questions?
Okay.
Thank you. Appreciate you coming in.
Thank you. I'm actually going to leave, if it's okay, I'm going to leave an annual report. This is for last fiscal year.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much.
Thanks.
Have a great night.
You too. All right. Next up, Economic Development Committee member resignation. Aaron?
We've had a change. We have someone who's interested in coming on full-time, who's active in economic development in another community. She'd like to come on and assist in economic development here in Milton. So Sandy Woods has tendered her resignation to step down to open a position for Jennifer Marsh to come on, and I'd just like you guys go ahead to accept Sandy's resignation. She's not leaving us. She's going to stay on and help. We hate to see her go, but we appreciate her stepping aside and letting Jen join the board. And I'd just like your guys' approval to go ahead and do that.
I'll make a motion to accept Sandy Wood's resignation from the,
Economic development.
yeah, you said it, thanks.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And to appoint.
And I'll make a motion to appoint Sandy Woods to the.
No, Jennifer Marsh.
Oh, Jennifer Marsh to Economic Development.
And add the term in that?
Yeah.
Until,
Is it a one?
Was it 21?
No, so much.
It's
No,
the
20.
remainder.
all right.
For a one-year term.
Well, for the
No,
remaining.
till March, for the remainder, till March of 20.
Okay.
So I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Do you have an appointment sheet for that the board can, we'll just sign our part and then you can,
Swear her in at the next meeting. So,
all right. Next up, cemetery trustee, alternate member appointment. John?
Yeah, I'm here to get approval to appoint Sandy Woods as an alternate cemetery trustees for the town of Milton. Sandy's showing great interest and willing to help out and volunteer in cases like when we only have 2 available to attend the meetings, to make it more fair with 3. Data inputs becoming heavier and heavier every year, as we all know, and she's willing to help out and all that. She's very, very interested in cemetery business overall. And I'd like to add a couple other things to it. Thank you ever so much, Sandy. We have 2 other people that are very interested also, and I understand the way the law reads, we can only have 2. I have a person out of the state of Massachusetts that wants to join in with us to do, data input, which is very heavy at this time, as we're trying to get the burial search done. We're probably very near of coming ahead of the board to get approval to spend for funding for software package. We have selected Pontum. Any questions? So I guess we need to swear Sandy in.
So I'll make a motion to appoint Sandy Wood as an alternate to the cemetery trustees for till the 2020 term.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Thank you. So we gotta sign this. And then if you want, Sandy, I can swear you in now, or we can do it. Yeah, now is probably the best time to do it. All right, raise your right hand.
I, Sandy Woods,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully and impartially
that I will faithfully and impartially
discharge and perform
discharge and perform
all duties incumbent on me
all duties incumbent on me
as a cemetery trustee
as a
alternate,
cemetery trustee alternate,
according to the best of my abilities,
according to the best of my abilities,
agreeably to the rules and regulations
agreeably to the rules and regulations,
of the Constitution and laws
to the constitutions and laws
of the state of New Hampshire.
of the state of New Hampshire.
So help me God.
So help me God. Okay.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you.
And
Thanks,
I just
Sandy.
need you
Thank you.
to
Thank you very much.
sign
Thank
right
you.
here, Sandy. I just
Sorry?
need your signature right here. Oh, no, up here.
Okay.
Perfect.
That's it.
That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Next on the agenda that was posted, it's State Silver Street reconstruction discussion. That has been removed from the agenda as there was no need for that anymore because the Public Works Director took care of all those issues.
Right,
So-
you did the work, yeah.
So we will move on to approval of in-town trick-or-treat crossing guard. Jeffrey?
Good evening. I'm back again for our third year to do the same thing that we've been doing for the last 2 years, helping make a more visible experience when crossing the road along 125 and the major intersections on Dawson, Steeple, Silver Street. It's worked well for the last 2 years. We're also trying to expand a little bit to go into Milton Mills a little bit too this year. So
All right. That's great. I believe some of you guys volunteered last year, right?
Yeah,
No.
almost got mowed over on 125. Yeah. But, no, appreciate all you guys, what you do and your help and
I think so.
it's much appreciated.
thank you.
So,
I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the in-town trick-or-treat crossing guard. Mr. Jeffrey will head that up.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Uh,
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good.
All right. Next up, Fire Chief Marie.
You wanna do the road change or?
We good.
What do you got?
Oh, no, go ahead.
So I think you have in front of you, and I don't have in front of me, is the approval of the new road name off of Wayne. Basically, you guys need to sign off on that and then set a date in which it'll go into effect. So there's 2 driveways, or 2 properties off of one driveway. A third property is added, so because of that, it triggers a road name. It'll be a private road. And the residents on that road came up with the name, like Sasquatch Lane.
They obviously have a sense of humor.
Yeah.
Who's in front of yours, Mr. Capper?
But the date in which you set for it to go into effect can be no sooner than 30 days from now, once you approve it. We have to get the information to 911 and activate the database and all that stuff.
Are we gonna have a problem like they did with, what is it, Old Town Road because of that song? Are we gonna have people showing up for Sasquatch sightings? Just
I think
asking.
it might actually, isn't
Is there a big cutout of Sasquatch down there now? Is that what it is? I have no idea.
All right. So anyone make a motion?
It's hard to restrict. Okay, I'll make a motion to go ahead and approve the private road called Sasquatch Lane.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
we're going to set a date for it to go into effect. Devin suggested December 1st, just to keep it simple.
Is that Sasquatch's birthday or anything? December 1st, 2019.
All right. You have the,
There's 3.
I believe it's 1 for each property owner like that, if I remember correctly. So while you're signing those, the other thing, 911 related, we're remapping the town currently. So they've sent us a list of discrepancies between assessing data and 911 data. What was it, 6 pages long? So Devin, myself, and Kathy are going to be going through that. So there might be some more changes coming out of that in the future.
all right.
Road names and our road names.
All right, move on to the scuba air pack discussion.
So as you know, we got a federal grant for the replacement of our air packs. You guys accepted the grant. The next thing we have to do is award it to a vendor. We reviewed the different products that are available and came up with to purchase Scott air packs. We looked at a couple different ones. That was the one, well, that is the one we currently have. And for continuity of our most important piece of protective equipment, the members chose to stick with the Scotts. There was several other reasons, but I don't need to get into the details of that. That leaves us two vendors which we can purchase that from. One is our current vendor, which repairs everything, does our annual maintenance. We've had a good working relationship with them. So I'd like to purchase it from them. The town purchasing policy authorizes purchase through state bids. I checked with FEMA, purchase through state bids is okay with them as well. And I think this is probably gonna net us the best deal in the long run. The original grant was for the $180,000, and the quote for the equipment in which we asked for in the grant is currently $169,150 with additional equipment beyond what was requested in the grant that was added into the price. So I kind of gave you all the backup as far as this being an acceptable means of procurement, and if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. But the other thing I had, which I did not give to you guys, is the state bid price for that equipment. So obviously we're below state bid, we negotiated below, but state bid price is $237,124 for the same amount. So basically we're $67,000 below state bid price, and then list price was over $324,000 or something like that. And I did get prices from the other manufacturers, and it's all within the same ballpark, within a couple $100 of each other.
Go ahead.
I'll make a motion to go ahead and approve the chief to enter into a contract with Fire Tech and Safety of New England out of Tingsboro, Massachusetts. Is that the final amount, Nick? Is the 169?
$169,150.
Okay, for $169,150.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And as you know, and I wrote it in here, but just so everybody knows, that's $10,000 below the amount that was awarded for the grant. So I have to do an amendment with FEMA to be able to spend the rest of it. But there's other things that go along with that equipment. I just needed to get that taken care of and ordered first before I can apply for the amendment, which shouldn't be a problem. It's standard practice. It's just formality at this point. So, all right, thank you guys.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks for your hard work.
All right, next up, Police Chief Kraus.
Just the cover.
Do you want to do the winter parking one first, and then we can do probably the cruiser, and then I think the phone system and the SRO warrant article will probably take the longest.
All right, that works.
So the winter parking is for the winter parking ban, which starts December 1st and runs through April 15th. The conversation I wanted to have with you was about the parking out here in the municipal parking lot that you have here. The rule that has always been here in town is anyone who needs to park there has to get written permission from the Board of Selectmen, either through the town administrator or through the board by coming to a meeting. Normally, it's just the residents here on Charles Street that usually need to park there because many of them don't have a lot of off-street parking, and they're not allowed to park on the street from December 1st until April 15th, from 10 o'clock at night until 7 o'clock in the morning. We just want to relay it to the board again and relay it to the public that they have to get that permission, because that way we have their contact information in case the town crew needs to plow and needs to have their vehicles moved. That way we're not towing vehicles out of municipal lots, so we can get their property, so we can get the lot plowed out the way it needs to be during the winter months.
All right.
I just wanted to go over that with the board again and go over
Would it be easier if the board, if they're agreeable, made a motion to authorize either you, as police chief, or the town administrator to make that call without the residents having to come in front of the board?
I think it would be easier if they can just come to see
Okay.
the town administrator, if he has just a template form that they can come in, fill out, if he approves it, and it collects the information that the article needs. That would be the easiest thing.
I'll make that motion. So said.
Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The new cruiser, the replacement Cruiser 2 is the truck itself is in. None of the equipment or the lettering is in yet. The truck, we are getting $8,000 for the trade-in of the old Cruiser 2. The quote for the truck was $36,164, so $8,000 off of that is $28,164. I have not got a final number from Ford. They were supposed to send it to me on Friday, but I have to pick the truck up by this Friday. So I called them again this morning and still haven't got the final number. My expectation is it's $28,164. So what I'm asking for the board is to approve that I can do a check request out of the police detail account for no more than $29,000 to pay for the truck itself. I'll come back in front of you when I have to pay for the equipment and have that installed and the lettering.
Motion so said.
Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Just so the board is aware, there's currently $131,883.85 in the police detail account. So, I know you guys got these late, which is unfortunately a computer issue on my fault. The phone system quotes, Ernie and I met with 4 companies. Ernie met with me on 3 of the companies. The quotes are significantly different, and you'll see the prices are significantly different on both of them, on the different stacks of them. Verizon and Atlantic Broadband are voice over IP systems, so you're paying for the phone and then you're paying for monthly fees. The other two, well, Consolidated Communications is a hardline system inside of our building, just like we currently have, and is the same system that is currently in the fire station. The Panasonic system, which is IntelliChoice, is a hybrid system. It's both voice over IP and a hardline system inside the station. In my opinion, I would rather stay with the hardline system that's in the building, which is Consolidated Communications. It's the same system that is in the fire department. If we were to have a major issue go down in our building, we could technically take our phones out of the police department, go to the fire station, plug into their system, and we could use our phones and receive phone calls just like we were at the police department. If when they finally do update the building here, and they stay with that same system, all of the system will be wired in together, can be wired in together, and would allow us to do the same practice. The unfortunate part is Consolidated Communications is the most expensive system. But again, it gives us the hardwired system inside the building. So my problem with voice over IP is, yes, there are redundancies that protect you if you lose power and you lose internet and you lose the cell phones. I just have fears being the backup emergency management location for which is the police department, and the fact that the police department we have to have our phone system up and running. We can't be relying on the phone system going down, and we haven't had an issue with it in the last couple of years, but anybody who's been in town for a long enough time knows we've had issues in the past where the internet and the power has been out for significant periods of time.
What is do you know what the expected life of that system is?
Well, the current system I have in my building right now is 2001 is when it was put into the old station, and then we moved it to the new station. I'm not looking for an answer tonight. I just wanted to have the conversation with the board about the quotes we received and the information that that I would like to see us put into the system. Obviously, all of the systems have their pros. They all have their cons as well. But all of these systems do have the benefit of being able to push out to a cell phone. So if I'm in Louisiana hunting, I can have an app on my phone that if I need to answer my voicemails, I technically could.
And if you can get cell service out
If I
there
can
in the
get cell
bayou.
service where I'm hunting, yes.
Why such a huge difference between the Panasonic? I mean, it's over $6,000 difference.
And we're getting significant discounts with the Panasonic system.
And for how long are those discounts in place? I mean, is it
It's just on the equipment.
just on purchasing the equipment?
Correct.
And Consolidated can't be,
I have not gone back to Consolidated to see if they can better their price. I know Consolidated, when they went into the fire station, it was about $10,500. But that was going in when the building was being built. They didn't have to run any new wiring. They didn't have to do any of that stuff.
but is Consolidated currently in the police station now?
No.
They're not?
No.
Who's in the police station now?
It's an old day ring system from 2000, like I said, from 2001.
And none of those lines or anything can be used that are currently in there?
The lines that are in the wall are 5E lines, so they should be able to use those lines. So that may allow us to bring the cost down a little bit, just because they're not going to be running lines, but the hardwired equipment is what costs most of the things. I'm sure, as you saw with Verizon, the cost for the Verizon system is minimal. You're literally just paying for the phones. We already have the internet access, so we're already paying for the internet access every month, and then you're just paying monthly fees every month for the Verizon system. Same with Atlantic Broadband.
And do they have what are the fees, the monthly fees that'll be charged? Is that on here for Verizon and Atlantic Broadband?
I believe they are.
Nick had his
Of
hand
total
up.
monthly access, right?
Nick, you good?
I was just gonna say, we went through the same exercise, and basically the reason we went with the in-house system was the reliability of the copper phone lines versus the internet, and having the hardware in the station, not having to pay monthly fees indefinitely versus buying it. The upfront cost was more, but, in the long run, it was probably less expensive and more reliable. That's the conclusion we came up with.
It's just a shocker, you know.
The voice over IP for Verizon, after we bought $300 worth of equipment, would be basically $300 a month
Right,
for the foreseeable future.
right.
And
For
then-
for right now, and then that goes up, like the cell phone bill.
Right, until that went up.
Right.
And then Atlantic Broadband was,
Chief, just real quick.
Yep.
Could you negotiate maybe, a few years of that $300 a month? If-
with Verizon,
Yeah.
it's a government price.
Okay.
That's the price they give you for the government building. And then Atlantic Broadband is, let's see, $240 a month, or $240 to purchase the phones, and then $799 per 2 devices, which would basically be a cell phone, our two cruiser phones, which pushes any incoming call, can push it right to the cell phones while the officers are out of the building. Auto attendant is $25 a month, and then the fax line is another $25 a month, and then the prices of the equipment. So their system in total is about $363.81 per month. On top of, after you purchase all of their
Right.
phone line system. So the consolidated, it's $13,000 up front, and then you still have your, I think it's what, we pay you $150 a month right now,
Yeah, it's something in there.
which we are hopefully gonna work on changing the phone company as well.
Yep.
So we would own all of that equipment right
Mhm.
up front. It would stay with the building. If we needed to move the building or move anything, that equipment could move with it. And then you're basically paying your phone fees every month.
And what's the warranty in that on that? Do you know?
I don't remember what the warranty was.
I mean, theirs is pretty,
Remember what the warranty of the system is?
I've got to replace my phone already, so it doesn't matter. Probably a year.
I don't think the actual phones themselves, I don't think their warranty is very good, but I think the box itself I thought it was a 5-year warranty.
That makes sense. There's a maintenance contract as well,
Correct.
where a lot of those costs are taken care of.
Yeah,
and
I
how
know-
much is the maintenance contract, do you know?
Well, part of it, the partner support, the 1 year is $430 a month. I mean, $430 for the whole year.
And you can continue that on after?
Yep.
Nick, is that what you pay roughly? Do you know?
I thought mine was in the $300 ballpark, but maybe we can get together and do it.
Get a
Yeah.
group rate?
And I think I have more phones than he does, so that's probably why mine is higher.
All right, thank you.
They've also been changed hands recently.
Right, they're under Consolidated Communications now, whereas the actual company, yeah,
What was it?
the company that put in his system was a different company, but they've been purchased by Consolidated Communications, so they're all under that one envelope of
Yeah.
Consolidated Communications. And I know in talking with Ernie, the hopeful plan is to move the phone systems over to Consolidated Communications away from where we are now, because the service we're getting right now is subpar.
Thank you.
You have to jump through a whole lot of hoops and ultimately call Consolidated Communications to get our phone systems back up and running and find out where the glitch is in the end run anyways.
All right. When are you looking for?
Well, if we can put it on the next
Next.
meeting's agenda, the next actual selectmen's meeting, not your 28th meeting, the actual meeting. If we can just put it on that meeting, that way you guys have time to look through these. If you have questions for me individually, you can have a phone call with that. And I think Ernie has most of this stuff. If not, and he sat through some of the meetings with me too.
All right.
So November 4th?
Yeah, that's what it comes out to be.
Yeah, I think so.
So you guys should have the SRO warrant article information. You should have got that in your packet. So we talked about putting the SRO into my budget last year, obviously, or for 2019. Obviously, we went into a default, so that didn't go through. We had the conversation of how we wanted to move forward with the SRO this year, and the suggestion was to put it into a warrant article. To put it into the warrant article, you'll see that the number, it's a pretty big number for a half year, but it is not just the salary of the SRO. The number is the breakdown of the salary of the SRO, a small amount of overtime for the SRO because there are going to be school events that he or she may have to attend. There may be time where the school needs the SRO to stay after to assist with a case or assist with any type of an incident. So instead of putting that overtime into my budget and then having the warrant article fail, I did not want to increase my budget, so I'm just putting it all into the warrant article. Same with the health insurance and all of the other types of costs. the benefit costs that go with that warrant item. I didn't want to ask Ernie to increase the dental and medical lines and then have the warrant article fail, and then he has that in his budget when it didn't need to be in his budget if the warrant article fails. So it is all built into the warrant article for the half year. Sorry guys, it's really hard to see. Obviously, some of the benefits that the SRO will give our school, more security inside the building and have the officer on site should an incident occur. The officer can assist with any bullying incidents or any criminal activities that occur within the Safe School Zone Act that are required to be reported to the police department. The officer can also can assist with teaching classes and assist with any other type of incident that may occur that the staff feels that the officer can benefit, that the students can benefit from the officer being involved in that as well. There are quite a few incidents that we have to go up there to deal with that wouldn't necessarily be a crime-related incident that our officers have to go up to help with. And having the officer already on site, the kids already knowing who that officer is, having a rapport with that officer so it's not a new officer every time they see somebody come through the building. It's already the rapport built, the officer, they're comfortable with that officer. We can also hopefully expand the DARE curriculum up to the middle school with having the officer already in the schools, because he or she will be teaching the DARE program at the elementary school, also moving it up to the middle school, and hopefully creating some type of class or some type of teaching aspect with the high school students as well. Those are some more of the items that they can assist with. So if this warrant article passes, we will hire the officer for July 1st of 2020. That'll allow us a couple of months for training aspects to prepare for the school to start in September of 2020, and then it'll pay for the officer through December 31st of 2020, and then the officer will then become a permanent part of my budget as of 2021. So you should have a copy of the proposed warrant article as well. The reason why I'm presenting it now is I would like for approval from the board to have Ernie send it to town council. That way we can get this warrant article, the wording of the warrant article, both approved from town council and from DRA, that it is worded correctly, and that we can move forward with it when you guys are ready to approve your warrant articles onto the board.
Yeah, I have no problem making a motion to forward this to our town attorney to have him look at it.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. I guess just like to have a little bit of discussion on it. Yeah. Just, I guess for the residents to understand, I mean, it's really part of the school's cost, but it's going to be in the town side of the budget if it is to pass and go forward, right? And I
It's
mean,
an
at the end of the
overall
day,
cost
it still comes out of the taxes. I understand that,
Correct.
but it just makes it easier, transaction-wise, on your part to keep
Correct.
everything clean, and instead of trying to put that part of your budget in the schools.
Instead of trying to do 80% in the school's budget and 20% in my budget, because the officer will be used 80% of the time in the school, 20% of the time for the police department in the summer. It's easier to just keep the entire budget in my budget, and that way the control aspect of it, the financial aspect of it is all controlled one way and one location. We'll have an MOP with the school. That way we know when the officer is going to be here, where they're going to be, how they're going to be doing things, and when they're going to be usable for us as the police department to be able to call them out and use them for road work instead of being inside the building, and when we'll have to take an officer off the road to put him in the building to cover when that officer may be sick or on vacation or something to that nature. but it was just, it was going to be, in my opinion, it's very messy, finances wise and tracking wise, to have 80% of it come out of the school's budget and then 20% of it come out of my budget, and then they're still getting paid out of the police department's budget. So we'll have a negative until we ask the school to give us their payback to pay off that portion of it. It just makes it a mess. Whereas if we take it all out of my budget, it's all one tax base from the residents. It's just coming from the police department side of it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
All right. Next up, library capital reserve fund spending request. Betsy?
So the trustees have submitted a check request for $148,634. And of that, 108 are to come out of the 2005 free public library CRF. And the trustees have approved this, but I guess you also are going to approve the spending of it. So I'm bringing it before you. You'll notice there, I also made a note of the 2014 Milton Free Public Library Repair and Maintenance CRF. And that's actually a selectman CRF, and there is $353 in there. I didn't include it in this accounting because I didn't talk to you all about it before. You may wish to consider going ahead and closing that account. Just to streamline everything. In which case some of the money wouldn't be coming out of my budget, it'd be coming out of that line. And that's up to you all.
And can you repeat what that line has in it right now?
$353 and some odd cents. I don't have the cents. And according to Karen, we have to leave a little bit in for something. So.
So you want to get some more, I'll get some more information on that so you have it for your next meeting.
Yes.
All right.
But anyway, if you all would approve with the trustees.
So you want us to approve the total balance of $148,634?
Yeah.
And 108
Coming from
thousand is coming from the
2005 free public library CRF.
and then we have 18,179 coming from, I just have the line number here.
Okay, yeah, there are three amounts that are coming out of the general ledger account that I had put in earlier this year. The 18,179 is from LCHIP. 3,500, the Friends were given two separate donations to be included against the LCHIP grant. And that $200 was also from LCHIP. It's the maintenance line from a previous grant. And we are waiting for an additional $18,179 from LCHIP.
All right.
And the $576?
That is out of my budget.
So this 18,179 that you're waiting for LCHIP,
Yes. The second,
The second one.
check from L-Chip, I'm expecting any day. And then there will be like, which should be over $9,000, and then that last little bit, as soon as we finish, our final report and give it to them, they will send us that final check.
And that's included in this
yes,
total figure on the bottom.
Yes.
Okay. Can we do that ahead of time like that?
Must that approve the amount?
Approve this?
Yeah, I don't think there's any problem with that. You just need to wait for the money to get in before the check is actually cut. Yeah.
Is that what you're looking for, Betsy?
I'm,
Well, the other thing is too, I mean, we can, as long as we know we're gonna get that, we can cut the check and just post it, as I mentioned before, to do from account and wait for that. I mean, it's really your comfort level. I mean, you haven't had any issues with L-Chip, right?
no.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with that. I just want to make sure we're all on the same page and it's
Mhm.
clean and clear so everybody understands what we did and what we're doing.
Yeah, it's a big sum of money.
When do you absolutely have to have the check cut, Betsy?
Well, Boudel has been very
Ah,
good about
Boudel.
waiting.
Okay.
And I have told them that it is a matter of getting all of the parts and pieces together.
Can we do 100,000 right now, you know?
Everything except for that 18,179 is here and accounted for.
Well, that's what we agreed that we were going to pay to begin with, so, right?
The 148, 634.
And the work's done.
Mhm.
The work is done, yeah.
So the difference between the two numbers is 130, 455. But again, I mean, if you know that that's coming, I don't really see an
I
issue.
was told that the second check was cut. We are almost done with the end of the final report, and L-Chip is scheduled to come by, or not scheduled yet, but we're working on scheduling L-Chip for a final walkthrough, but we haven't had any issues.
You have the 130, 455, you have that. So, I mean, it's the other, and when you said you expect the 18, how long?
Well, I'm expecting like 9,000 of it any day now. Supposedly, the second check has already been cut. It just hasn't been signed or sent or something.
So I'll make a motion to grant Betsy's request of $148,634 for the listed accounts, to come from all the listed accounts on this memo we have.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Right.
Aye.
Thanks,
Right.
Betsy.
Thank you.
Do you want to talk about the furnace while she's?
Sure, if you want to,
Yeah.
before we move on to the next one.
Yeah, so as you are probably aware at this point, the library had an issue with the boiler, which was actually not repairable. So what happened, in the interest of time, because cold weather, well, we've had some, but it's going to get colder, is Patrick went out and got bids, one local and then one from Stroh. They're both, Strojan's does the work for the town now generally, and those are copies for all of you. The pricing, the best pricing for the boiler itself was $13,933. That was provided by Strojan. And then aside from that, we called, it was kind of a team effort, called the Mary Sweet Chimney Service out of Portsmouth, and they gave a bid to put in a new flue liner of $1,985. That's required to be done with the installation of the new boiler, given the condition of the old chimney that's there. So the combination of those is about it's the 13,933. Give me just a second, sorry. That price was 15,918, and then the next price was received locally from First Class Heating, and the total cost for that installation was $19,385. So there was significant savings with going with Strojan and the Mary Sweet Chimney Service.
Is that including doing the liner as well on that $19,000 quote?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that total 19 was the boiler
Okay, I
and
see it,
the
yeah.
flue liner, not the flue. So the difference. Whoops, I'm sorry. The difference was $3,467 by going with Strojan and the independent bid from Mary Sweet. The boiler should be in by the end of the month, maybe the first week of November, and then the flue liner. And we had talked with the fire chief, with Chief Marek, about the flue liner. That can't be put in until mid-December, and what it would take is just approval by authority having local jurisdiction to have that gap in there. And we had talked with the chief and did that, thumbs up. So we will be able to get the heat in there, and then the flue liner will go in mid-December. That's how much they're backed up. This is a very busy time of year for them, and we were not able to get them to move it up at all.
So the 14,000 or the 13,933, that doesn't include the flute, or that does?
No, it does not. You add the
And then you add the
1,090.
1,000, okay.
Right.
All right. And where do you plan on getting this money?
Well, a couple of different sources. I mean, first, I'd recommend just waiting till we're closer to the end of the year, just to see if there is enough unexpended appropriation to handle this. In the meantime, there is about $5,600 left in the unanticipated expense line, and just as a reminder, the bulk of that was spent earlier this year on the Lockhart Field project. And then there was a $1,200 expense for the fencing around 565 White Mountain Highway. But there's $5,600 in that account, and then there's approximately, I'm unclear whether it's 43 or 32 in the Building Maintenance Capital Reserve Fund. I don't think that Mr. Catwick's money has been withdrawn from there that you got for the townhouse yet.
It's been paid, the invoice was paid.
Okay, so I'm not, but it doesn't show in the statement I have. So, but regardless, there's enough money between those two sources to be able to cover if there's not enough in unexpended appropriation by the end of the year. Because I guess in my view that if you don't have to draw down the capital reserve fund, then I wouldn't. But I would just wait. What we would do is go ahead and pay it, and then we'd leave the account open until closer to the end of the year, and then we can decide then where the money's coming from. But we know we do have it.
Okay.
So you need a motion for,
Yes, please, to ratify these. I mean, we did go ahead and take action because we needed to make sure we got the boiler ordered and things in place before it got too cold.
and I
So,
believe you guys are within the purchasing policy, because I think there's a line in there, right, that would allow you, in a case like this, allow you to do that. And
well,
then come back to the board and,
right, I mean, I did touch base with a board member just to make sure that I wasn't totally in left field on it, because again, it's a building, it needs to be heated, cold weather's coming, we considered it an emergency.
Yep.
And we do have the lower bids, we're only able to get two bids, but this was the lower. So there are two separate ones. There's one in the amount of $13,933 for Strojan, and then the amount of $1,985 for a Mary Sweet chimney service, which is a very happy name for a chimney service.
If you need a motion, I'll make a motion to go with those two bids for the library.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good, all right. All right, so we'll move on to Casey Road Committee discussion of tax map 41 lot 81. Karen?
Yes, Karen Golab, Chair of the Casey Road Land Protection Committee, and here today to talk about a piece of land that is actually owned by the town. During the abutters survey process, we're kind of in the final phase of putting the Casey Road land into the final easement. As part of that we had to do an abutters survey, and the person who did that found out that this particular plot of land was actually owned by the town and has been for quite some time. So I believe you have a map, that was included. It is right off of 75. It does abut the property that will be putting into the conservation easement. In communicating with Bruce, he said the normal procedure is to come before you to see if you would entertain turning that property over to the Conservation Committee so that we could incorporate it with that 79 acres off of Casey Road. And if you're agreeable to start the process, then that would mean we'd have to go to the planning board, who would hold public sessions, and then come back to you for final approval. But he did state that you need to come before you first to see if you would even consider going down that path.
Didn't I, when I was actively involved, and I will be back, I promise, wasn't this parcel very wet and
Yes.
not buildable?
I don't know what's interesting is I pulled the tax card back in 2006. It was assessed at 44.3. Right now it's assessed at 24.8, but I don't know, have direct knowledge, but I have been told by people who have walked it that it is very wet. So.
And how would this benefit this? Would it be a benefit other than having, how many acres is it?
3.04.
Okay.
Just as an FYI, we had talked about, could this be a viable entrance into the property? I think most of us agreed that it would probably be a safety issue to have an entrance right off of 75, so we really don't have any current plans to use it as an entrance to that property. It's more or less just an add-on, to be honest with you. So.
This is, I'm assuming that's this right here, is that?
Yeah, because it's
It's hard to tell, something's when you're looking at it in black and white.
yeah.
It
I
is.
tried to fold it out so you can see.
And we've owned this piece of property for quite some time, huh?
Yeah. It's kind of just sitting there.
And it has this brook running through it, right through the middle of it,
Yes, it does.
just so people kind of see. I mean, I can pass this map around if people want to look at it. So it does have a,
I have a copy too, if anybody wants to look
so this is the east right here.
Thank you so much.
So this would basically be kicking off the process to have the other boards look at it and make their recommendation on it.
at it. Right, and then bring it back.
And then
to
bring it
final
back.
approval. Similar to what we did with the other merge that we did, but in talking with Bruce, I'm supposed to come to you first before I go to the planning board and the conservation committee, so.
I mean, I think, I mean, before I really want to say one way or another, I'd like the other boards' opinions, which is why we have those other boards. So I don't see anything wrong with starting the process and
Oh, thank you.
No, not at all.
and see what comes back for recommendations.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Karen.
All right. So, next up, 460 White Mountain Highway discussion. 460 White Mountain Highway is the old fire station. Mr. Walter Cheney's here to have a discussion with us about this. Currently, there is an approved site plan that went in front of the planning board Tuesday of last week, where he has proposed to put 4 apartments in there, and now at the planning board meeting, it changed it to 1 real estate office and 3 apartments.
Yes.
I had brought up at the planning board meeting that the Board of Selectmen was under a different impression when we sold it. This property obviously took several years to close because of deed complications. But the original presentation was back on August 7th, 2017, by Alex from your,
Yes.
from your group, which spoke about a commercial second location for real estate business, and then there was also mention of storage. So I challenged Walter at the planning board meeting, and he was more than willing to come in and talk to the board, and here he is tonight. So I'm not sure if you guys had a chance to watch the planning board meeting, and also go back and watch this meeting, and what your thoughts are on it.
I was actually here at that meeting in August of 17.
So I'll turn over the board first, and then I'll turn over to Walter. So I think at the planning board meeting, anybody that saw that knows where I was coming from or understands what my feelings on this.
No, there was discussion. I was actually at that meeting as just a citizen then. And I do remember there was 3 people that came in and talked about the bids. One of them was Alex.
Yep.
One of them was like a Laker magazine, if I remember right. And he wanted to give us so much in cash and then so much in trade for advertising and such in his magazine, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
And then there was a guy who wanted a machine shop. And,
Printing.
okay, is that what it,
Printing.
well, printing I thought was the Laker guy. And then wasn't there one that wanted like a machine shop or something? And that might have been one of the
That
other
was,
times when we were talking about selling it too.
yeah, that was after. So there was Lilac City Printing,
Okay. All right.
was one of the other ones
Okay.
that came in at that particular time.
All right. No, but I do know the discussion had been at that time about making some kind of a commercial establishment there, for lack of a.
I mean, I like seeing the progress down there. I know that it can't look but nothing better than it did. And in our master plan, proves that we're lacking housing. I like one bedrooms because, it's not going to be stacked in there like cordwood, little kids. And that could be an issue. So, I like the progress. So that's my opinion.
I would really like to see the board go with the original plan with this building, which is to keep it commercial use. I think that was really what we were under the impression when we sold it. That's what we were really pushing for. And I think that, Walter is here. He said he was willing to adapt the plan to meet what his word was if the board so choose. And I just think that Milton's really hurting for economic development, especially for commercial use and commercial businesses coming into town, and we have an opportunity here to work in that direction.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that if we kind of don't stick with what we said we wanted and what we wanted out of this, I don't think it leaves a good impression that we as a town are really serious about this stuff.
And I agree with you to a point, but the other side of that coin, I think that if we had really done our due diligence in that from the beginning, and I'm talking all the way back to 17 in that too, and in the previous, the other meetings that we've had, we should have had something in writing, like what we did with 1121 White Mountain Highway and Spruce Lane or whatever out in the mills. Shame on us for not putting a covenants in there. I agree, when Mr. Cheney or Alex, because I can't remember if you were actually here or not. I remember Alex was here. They did come before us and present in such a manner on a few different occasions. If I remember correctly, she's come in.
Yeah, they were kept up to speed on.
Right, every time there
We
was
had
a
to list
change.
it with a realtor because of the Attorney General to get the deed.
Right.
There was several things to get this property sold because it was a gift to the town and we didn't have the deed.
Right. So I agree with that part, but I also think, again, I said shame on us for not doing our due diligence and having a covenants put in. I think in good faith to show the people of Milton that you are here and you're committed. I think if you're willing to divide between residential and commercial, I think that would be
I just want to add, number one, the building's back on the tax roll. That's
huge.
That's key. Unfortunately, Milton, we thrive for both, but unfortunately, we have some empty buildings in town that are commercial. So if we hold him to the fire and say, we want it commercial only, the building sits there empty, like other buildings in town, unfortunately, it serves no purpose. There's no good, so I think moving forward, he's willing to put an office in there and 3 one-bedroom apartments. I don't have no problem with that.
It's not 3 one-bedroom apartments.
Or whatever the apartments are.
I don't know the plans here. So it's been amended
What are they, Walter?
for one
So I don't have to
of
go
the
through
ones.
They've been changed since then.
Okay.
There were going to be 4 one-bedroom apartments. we've decided during construction to change the 2-bedroom to a 1-bedroom.
So-
And this young lady over here convinced me I should put washers and dryers in the units. And when I did that, we shrunk the 2-bedroom to put the washers and dryers in. So it will now be either 3 or 4 1-bedroom apartments.
With no office space?
But if you want me to talk now?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
I guess.
I didn't-
Yep.
I sort of snuck
Yep.
in here, so.
No. I
Okay.
said I was gonna bring it to the board and you, so it's,
Okay, so I'm going to recap for what originally happened, okay? There was a bid, we came in, we got the bid, we had our vision, we were going to do 1 apartment, storage, 7 storage units, and our office on the top floor. That's what our original was going to do, and I have a plan of it here, and, so that was originally what we were going to do. About 18 months later, plus or minus, the property was listed with a broker and we came in with a contract. Now that's a huge thing when it goes to a real estate broker. When you guys had it out to bid and we were dealing with you, we had our vision, we came talk to you, we told you what we're gonna do. When a broker was involved, we all had to follow the rules and regulations where we couldn't talk to you anymore. And we had everything was presented by the broker. Now, somebody signed a purchase and sales agreement with us to purchase that property. Does anybody know who might have done that?
Originally?
Yeah,
the Board of Selectmen.
but was it, in other words, when
So-
we submitted an offer to you, and the broker came to the meeting, did she explain to you this purchase and sales agreement? Did she, in other words, somebody that
Yes.
signed the agreement?
She brought the purchase and sales agreement to the Board of Selectmen.
And I'm
So,
asking,
I just would like to back up first.
okay,
So, when we listed this with the broker,
yeah,
this was not our choice. We were dealing with the Attorney General, so
Yeah.
we put it out for bids.
yeah,
You came in with
Yeah.
several other people. You were selected. Unfortunately, we didn't realize at the time we didn't have the authority to sell the
Sure.
building. We had to contact the Attorney General. We got the Attorney General involved. They made us get the building appraised.
Yep.
The building appraisal came out much higher than any of the offers.
yeah.
And the Attorney General said to us, at this point, the only way you can sell this building for less than what the appraisal is you need to list it with a broker and see what you get for offers. Now, through this whole process, our town administrator was in contact with Alex, letting her know what was going on.
Absolutely.
And the whole time, we were being told that you guys were still interested, but you weren't going any higher than your original offer. And time had to lapse before we could get down to that original offer you made. So that was where the broker came involved. So to say that you guys couldn't talk to us, I kind of have a hard time with that, because we were explaining to you why we got the broker involved, and Alex was made well aware of that.
That
And-
doesn't bother us.
and-
In other words, we understand that completely. We're just explaining that we can't blow in here and go in and talk to anyone here about this deal, because the broker the other broker is the only way we can communicate with you, under the real estate rules and regulations. Everybody understands that. And what I'm saying is, she presented a board here, a purchase and sales of contract. Somebody signed it. Can anybody tell me who might have signed the purchase and sales agreement?
I think we authorized, it
Heather
was
to-
the
You
town
authorized,
administrator
right.
to sign
So,
it.
Any thought of whether
He
you
was
signed
not
it?
here at
It
the
was
time.
not him.
Yeah.
You gotta remember, we've
No, I
been through
didn't- right.
we've been through 2 town administrators through this. This is our third
They
through
did
this whole
authorize-
process.
They authorized the amendment, they authorized me to sign that somewhere back in.
Okay.
I don't know,
All I'm
June or something.
pointing out is somebody in this room, and I fully understand that this board probably is not aware of this.
I'm assuming we're referring to the highlighted section.
So when we all signed the purchasing agreement, it clearly says any conversations that we had prior to signing this agreement were null and void.
Okay, again, like I said at the planning board meeting, I think that what you presented to the board was your intentions, was very clear to not only the Board of Selectmen, but also the public. I mean, it was a public recorded meeting.
No, but
And you knew, I mean, this is just a boilerplate purchase and sales that every real estate company uses. And you guys are in that business.
You question my integrity, okay? And what I'm trying to, that's what I'm trying to clarify, is that I was dealing with what I believed gave us every right to do anything we wanted with that property under the zoning and the subdivision regulations, okay? We, along the way, made the decision to switch doing the storage areas and the apartment and our office upstairs. We're investing a great deal of money into it. And what I'm hoping to walk away here tonight with is to understand what you want for economic gain out of that building. I'm thinking I'm doing a great job for you as a town, because in spending, let's just pick a number and say we were going to spend somewhere between $50,000 and $100,000 to convert the building to what we originally proposed to the selectmen, okay? Instead, we're spending a minimum of $200,000, okay? And we're now proposing what we would like to do is what we originally, not originally, but what we were doing that we presented to the board. We'd like to do the 4 one-bedroom apartments. We would like them to have garages in the lower level, which we think is going to be a unique, new opportunity that people have not had. The rents will be anywhere from, Alex thinks they'll be $1,500, and I'm thinking $2,000. So the rents are going to be in that price range. And so this is an experiment to us to see if we can do this. And so we see it as an economic gain to the town, okay? I'll raise my hand right here again and say, I'm willing to leave here tonight and do what this board wants me to do on that property. We would like to have we own a lot of property in town. We have a vision for the town. We think we can be an economic gain. I think I'm your biggest economic drive in this town. I don't understand, and I'd like the board to explain to me, a commercial office, the value that you see in that. Can somebody explain to me the value you would see in let's take any of the storefronts downtown and explain to me what the advantage is to the tax base.
So I think we're getting way off the subject of this property and talking, getting into a much bigger discussion, I think, than really what is intended for tonight's agenda topic, which is the fire station.
That's all I'm talking about.
And I think those type of discussions should take place maybe in conjunction with the Economic Development Committee, which we have one here in Milton, and the Board of Selectmen, and maybe even some other committees.
Okay, I'm requesting that we
I-
have that meeting. Okay?
I think that would be a benefit to everybody.
So how do I'm thinking, in other words, if I put an office in that building, which I've agreed to, so the only way we can change it is for you guys to vote no, okay? So right now, I agreed with that because my integrity was in question. So I made it clear that that's what, and I'm making it clear tonight, we'll still do that. I can still take that building right today. I can make the first floor office building, which we've agreed to. I can put another office in the second floor, and I can convert the 4 garages in the basement to storage areas and have outside tenants, okay? I can do that. I don't see that's an economic benefit to the town, but if I try to rent office space there and it's successful in it, hey, I'll be here, saying there's all kinds of demand. But we don't see any demand, and so we don't understand why you see it as a demand.
I don't understand why you saw demand when Alex stood up at the August 7th, 2017 meeting. And if you listen, not only read the minutes, go back and watch the video and listen to what she said. You're doing a 180 flip. And at the time, what we were looking for was that building to stay as a commercial use, I think.
Wow.
So it's
So-
up to the board, but I think the board has a very unique opportunity here where you're willing
So
to-
I'm clear.
to
I'm
work
clear,
with us.
I'm hearing it right. You would rather see it to be 4 offices or back to storage. You would rather see our original proposal than what we're doing today.
I would rather see, my personal opinion, is I would rather see that building be more renovated, geared towards some sort of commercial use, because the town of Milton is hurting from that. You look at our downtown area, every little bit we can get is gonna help,
And I'm
in my
I'm giving
opinion.
you 4
And it's
new
up to the
tenants.
board.
Okay.
It's not up to just me,
Listen.
so this is just my opinion, but
We've had
if-
Citgo sitting down there empty, okay, for the last, I don't know, 3-4 years, okay? We have an empty building in Cumberland Farms, all right, that's been empty since, unfortunately, the
2
Chinese
years.
restaurant left. I'm sorry?
2 years? No.
2 years, whatever.
Not quite, yeah.
I honestly think that this conversation, personally, shouldn't have even been brought to us. I'm all on board with what you're doing right now, and I appreciate what you've done with the apartment building that's next to the abandoned building downtown. It looks very nice. Nice paved driveway. It's kept very neat. I like it. So, my opinion, move forward.
I second what he said. If we had really truly wanted to have it as a commercial building, we should have put covenants in the purchase and sales, so that that's what you had to do with it. At this point, you have purchased the building, you own the building. It looks 150 times better than what it has in a very, very long time, since I've lived here, which isn't long, but long enough.
'Cause
I
if you didn't
think you're
purchase
doing
it,
a
it'd
great
still be
job.
sitting there empty.
Right.
So, thank you.
And you motivated us to get the Senate involved and get the bill approved so that you could purchase it. So I'm fine with it. Thank you very much.
All right, well, I mean, I've made my point very clear, and like I even said at the planning board meeting, it's not that I don't appreciate what you're doing to the building, and I'm not saying by any means what you proposed does not look good, and it's not gonna be a pleasing appearance to the town. I just think that it really wasn't the intention of that the board was under when they bought it. Now, the board has changed since then too, as well, it's partially changed, but it is what it is. And I personally think the board has made a very big mistake and made a very loud statement tonight that the board can be walked all over on what they're given for.
Well, I don't think so.
No,
Brian.
'cause
That's
the
your
board
personal
didn't set-
opinion.
Because the board didn't set a covenant.
So-
Had a covenant's been set, then, and we changed it,
I
then maybe,
agree that
but
we should have done that too,
Listen,
but
we'll
set-
just agree to disagree on it.
We set covenants for the
So-
buildings that we sold.
and it's not working out too well, is
It
it?
is, and it isn't.
So that
there
works
you-
real well.
So there you go.
But, no, I appreciate you coming in tonight, Walter, and taking the time, and
So-
I
so
apologize
I'm
for
clear.
leading you
So I'm
down
Clear.
this path
Did I?
that I thought the previous board
Am I
wanted.
from the Board of Selectmen, am I now have the right to convert it back to the 4 apartments?
I think that has to go to planning board and ZBA. That has really nothing to do with us.
No.
But
what
yeah,
I'm-
no, I say move forward with your project.
No, there was.
And
the
thank you.
Planning board's already agreed that all I have to do is send them a letter and request that, and they can do that, because.
I mean, Walter, you didn't even have to come in here tonight. That was your personal choice
I
to come in
understand
tonight.
that.
So you had the authority to do
Okay.
anything you want as long as it's within zoning.
And I was looking for the board.
So this
to
board can't make
convince
that
me-
call.
Yeah, for me to do something else with the thing, and what they're saying, unless, I'm trying to make sure I leave here with a clear direction of what we're doing, because we're looking at buying other properties. I am confused and told that it's not for this conversation, but we're gonna have another meeting. What I don't understand is what you want. In other words, you personally, I feel I'm giving you what you want. I'm gonna give you economic gain and taxes.
It doesn't matter what I want, it matters what the board
No,
want,
but
and the
what
board
I'm
has
saying
spoken
is-
tonight, Walter, so you're all set.
Okay.
Thank you very much
Thank
for
you,
your
Walter.
I, again, so
And I
we can have
agree.
another meeting to discuss economic development if you would like
Could
in
that
the
be
town of
set up?
Milton.
I don't know what the process is, but
The chairman's
and
sitting
my-
right there in the front row, Walter.
my recommendation is that we would have all the boards in town, if anyone's interested. A number of you people in the room know that we own 92 acres on Elm Street with the availability of town water and sewer. And we would like to do multifamily in there, and we feel that we could produce a bonanza to the town if they gave us the zoning. We could do all kinds of housing there, multifamily, apartments, townhouses. We
All
would
right.
do things.
Yep. So, I don't know, does the board want to make I'll make a motion to maybe ask the town administrator, try to set up a joint meeting with the different boards in town that, well, I would say Conservation Commission,
Economic
Economic
development.
Development, Planning, and Board of Selectmen to discuss economic development. I think we have a lot going on right now through the end of the year, so I would suggest we do it the beginning of next year. I don't know what the board's feelings is on that.
Yeah, I'd like to
Yeah.
talk to you a little bit more about it, maybe expanding the subject matter.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
don't think we should wait till next year personally, but
This would be the 3rd year we put off dealing with Elm Street. I just
Recognize the chair.
passed that
well,
on to
Elm
everyone.
Street went on a warrant article, didn't it? Already on?
No, I went for ZBA, and then the planning board said they would deal with it, and then it's more lip service than reality. Okay?
Can you
And
repeat?
they never
So-
get to it.
We get the economic
I
development.
would recommend that we don't wait till next year to get into this. Walter is very much welcome to come to any of our meetings, economic development.
Okay.
The next one is November 7th,
Okay?
6 o'clock, right
I'll
here.
be here.
And let's start the discussions there. If we decide moving forward, we need to get others involved or just want to get involved, but we should start it now. Let's not let it go. That's my recommendation.
Okay?
All right, thank you. Thank you. All right, we get anything other business, or are you gonna do that in your administrator comments?
Yeah, there's,
Mr. Cheney.
yeah, you can do it under the administrator's comments and, you know.
All right, so, we get approval of minutes next. at the September 23rd, 2019 minutes.
Make a motion to accept as written. I didn't-
All in favor? Aye.
Aye. Aye, aye. Can't see you.
Thank you. Expenditure report?
So, on your, if you were looking at a straight line expenditure at this point in the year, you'd be at 80.6%. Most of the budgets are in pretty good condition. Overall, at the bottom, you're at 71% expended. The biggest line items that I see issues with potentially are within the administration budget, and those have to do with legal services and contract services. You've had some litigation that's been going on, in town. You've had a lot of activity that you've dealt with in terms of the auctioning off of the properties and that kind of thing, and we are doing what we can to have those costs included as parts of the cost of selling those, so they will be offset by the proceeds of those. Just be considered in there. So we have actually taken some of those costs out of there. But those two lines right there, right now the legal services is 129% expended, and I'm sorry, 106%, and contract services 129%. On the other hand, we have a savings because there's been one position in there that has been unfilled since the beginning of July. So we saved on that. So it's going to be pretty close. We have to be careful on the legal expenditures and the contract services. Most everything in there has been budgeted. It is a little bit overexpended because we used the Stone Hill a little bit more this year because we needed to straighten out some finances and get caught up on those different fines that we were going to experience, which looks like have been cleared up for the most part at this point. But that's where the concern is really, just in the administration budget, those two lines. Everything else, if there are higher expenditures, and they're smaller budgets, so they're not a huge impact. Everything else is for the most part below that 80%. Some of them substantially.
Any further discussion from the board?
Nope, it's good.
No, I'm all set, thanks.
All right. Next up, public comments pertaining to topics discussed tonight.
I'm sorry. Can I have two questions?
Sorry, don't be sorry.
What's the term on the end?
One is, I congratulate you two, I'm sorry, Ryan, for understanding that what you agreed to and what was legal, Mr. Cheney's going by. And I don't understand why he has to go any further, because it seems like every project we want for growth for this town gets stuck in our boards and gets stuck in, well, the growth isn't happening, and I'd like to see some growth happen. The second thing is, I'd like to know just how much conservation land we've given away to the Conservation Committee, because it seems like we're giving away a lot of land, even the little pieces. What's it gaining for our town? And for our size of a town, it seems like it's becoming a little overwhelming. So if at some point you guys can give me a number, or someone could find out a number, and it's relative to this size of a town. And what is the town gaining besides walking and preservation? That's all. Thank you.
Thanks.
It would seem that Glenn Bailey. It would seem that that man that was here claims to own that property, right? You sold it to him? Well, at that point, the control passes to him. And whatever notions you might have about what it ought to be is none of your business any longer. You need to dispel these notions. And she spoke to it too. He should have to hop around to a bunch of committees to do something that's within zoning. No. He should be able to do whatever he wants that's within zoning, and whatever it is you think it should be, well, you should have put down the money then. Otherwise, butt out.
Thank you.
How do you really feel?
It's like insane.
Is there any other public comment? All right, I'm not seeing any. I will close public comment. I will move on to administrator comments.
Okay, a couple of things. We received a check in the amount of $74,000, I think it was $99, and nobody was quite sure what it was to start with, so we called the state treasurer's office, and there have been some revenue sharing, or the legislature approved some revenue being sent to towns on one side of the equation, and on the other side, an additional distribution of school aid has come out. So on the town side, the 74,000 plus, we're pretty clear on what the process is on that. We just hold a hearing to accept unanticipated revenue, and then you can use it for any town purposes that you would like to. On the other side, I think the school wants to come to next week at 5:30 to talk to you about their amount. I met with a couple of members of the school board, the school administrator, and the superintendent last week, and what they're looking at doing with that money, and it looks like they're able to, is they could potentially hold, they want to use that money for other needs that they have, capital needs as I understand it. And I don't want to go too far into it because we want to make sure we have the complete legal process for it. But it looks like what they're considering doing is seeing if they could hold a special district meeting to get for that money. And if that happens, of course, the tax rate setting would end up being delayed. So that's the reason I wanted to bring it up to the board, just so that you're aware of that. Because I think people are expecting to be able to set the tax rate anytime soon, but this may throw a delay into it. And I will have more information. Well, actually, you'll have the representatives from the school board coming in before your workshop next week for the budget at 5:30 to talk to you about the particulars. So, but in the meantime, we will set up the public hearing to accept your unanticipated revenue, and we can talk about options for you with regard to that money. So that's that one. With one of the things I wanted to run by you as well, and we could do it in the workshop, but we're looking at some of the contracts, and one of the ones that stands out is the wastewater operator contract. That ends on April 30th of next year. And what we're thinking about proposing to the board, and I'll bring that to you in more detail, is possibly amending the date so it actually ends in the calendar year, the same way your budget year does, so that we can just have the end time, and then take a look at the amount for the wastewater operator at this point, what the contract amount is. And I wanted to run that by you next week when I come back with the figures and everything, to see if you are willing to increase that amount by the 3.7%, like's happening with some of the wages and so forth. I just wanted to let you know about it. You can think about it, and I'll bring you the information, the more detailed information in a couple of weeks, or even next week if you'd like to see it. And then the other thing is Southern Stratford Regional Planning Commission. I've talked about MS4 a lot this year, and we're trying to get the notice of intent done. Of course, every time you get started on it, you get interrupted. So I did ask Stratford Regional Planning Commission to give us a proposal for actually getting that done, so we can, because as you know, maybe some people are aware here, that was actually due last October. So we're a year behind, and we did receive a letter from the EPA somewhere around probably August, early August, about that, saying, hey, you know, this deadline passed, you need to get it done. Pat Smith and I have gone to some of the Seacoast Coalition meetings, and they have a great template that's put together. Everybody's sort of on the same page. What they've done is coordinate with everybody, at least in the Seacoast region and up in the Manchester area, to make sure that everybody for this permit, because it's so complicated and bureaucratic, how's that, that everybody is saying the same thing for the most part on their notices of intent, and using the same terminology and using the same education sources and all these kinds of things, so that we don't reinvent the wheel for everybody. And if there's ever any objection to something that one of the towns is doing, that means EPA is not just dealing with that town, they're dealing with all of them. So what happened with these groups is they saw strength in numbers in getting together and teaming up on this thing. And so unfortunately, though, we're a year behind, and I'm trying to figure out how to get it done in a timely fashion, because it is tough to find the time to do it on one hand. On the other hand, you know, it's $1,480 is their proposal. So I'm just telling you about that, and I'm going to look at things and see if we need to do this or not, if there's any way I can get things close enough to get it in, because that group has done most of the work. If I can just find 2 straight days to put into it, then we can get it done without utilizing their services. But if it goes on too much longer, I may have to come back to you to see if you're willing to do this. So, but that's all I have.
All right, thank you. Selectmen comments? Andy?
Thank you. I'm not going to rehash tonight, but I do want to thank Mr. Cheney for everything he's done for the town so far. Do I agree with all his projects? No, I don't. Do we need 300-400 condos in Milton? Personal opinion, no. But what he's done so far with some of these buildings, I'm happy with it, and I want Milton to prosper. But so again, I just want to thank him, and I want to maybe look into. We have some buildings, Ernie, that's been the tax deeded. We couldn't put them on the last auction, and maybe we could, discussion with the board, but maybe do some sealed bids on some of these buildings that are just sitting there. If we're not going to have a fall auction, because we're probably not, since winter is almost approaching, unfortunately. But I'm just throwing it out there that we do have some buildings now that can be, probably auctioned off on a silent bid, and let's get rid of them. And
I did get all the paperwork that I put together in Raymond for doing sealed bids on these things. So we do have that. Danielle has started working on plugging that information in for me, so we'll try to get that done quickly. But it's all.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want next year, but I'd like to move forward. But don't feel under pressure that you have to, start tomorrow.
Everything.
No, we did start it. I mean, because I knew that we wanted to get that done. So, but we'll see where we go with that. I mean, that's all pretty much done. It's just some photos and things like that have to be traded out, because you don't want me advertising Raymond buildings in Milton.
Right. I mean, is the building beside what's it, 494 Mountain, whatever the
565
one,
Mountain.
565.
beside Cumbies, is that still under litigation?
Still title
Okay.
issues. Yep.
All right. I just was curious if we found anything out about that yet.
It hasn't cleared yet.
Okay. But there is other properties that we could, maybe even before the snow gets on the ground, so people can go out and take a look at them.
Yeah.
We could maybe disperse of them, get them back on the tax roll. And I'll let my colleague talk about.
Oh my gosh. No,
talk
you're
about-
gonna let me
Nope,
do
I am gonna let you talk
recreation.
about trunk or treat. Go for it.
Oh, you brought it up.
I did.
I want to thank everybody for their participation in the Milton Spooktacular Trunk or Treat Saturday night. We had a phenomenal turnout. I understand we had 4 more trunks
We were
this
20
year than what they had
Yep.
last year. The police department, fire department came out, did an awesome job. Michelle came out with her other half. And I have to say a very special thank you because I think the entire Brown family was there working it. Bobby was on the grill and Karen was doing, selling the food and such, and it was an excellent turnout. I know it was over 200 kids. I lost count. There were so many Elsa's, and I'll tell you what really amazed me was the number of kids dressed as police officers. And the officer, I don't know I'm terrible with remembering their names, but the officer that was there that night even commented how many police officers, kids dressed up as police officers, and that was pretty cool. So, thank you to everybody for coming out. We had a great time, and that's all I have.
And I will add, the haunted house actually freaking scared me. I don't know who it was, but he almost got punched.
Were you the one that came out?
Holy Moses, I lost a couple more years. But good job anyways, to them guys.
All right, I would like to applaud and thank Mr. Cheney for coming in and speaking to the board and sticking to his word as he said he would at the planning board meeting. I think it's unfortunate how the board voted, but it is what it is, and we will move on. There's a lot of moving parts to economic development, so just keep that in mind. It's not always about apartments and necessarily what a building's going to bring in to the town for tax money. There's a lot of moving other parts there. Anyway, that's all I got. So, we have a workshop session planned to discuss the budget after this meeting. So I guess I'll make a motion to adjourn this meeting, and then we can go into the workshop, which everyone's welcome to stay for the workshop if they want to. Do I have a second for the adjournment of the meeting so we can go into this? All in favor?
Aye. He did say adjournment. Can I go get some drink? Water.